Right, g'day folks. Just finished quite a long day. Well, not really. Don't be slack. I got up at 12, but I went to bed at about 3-4 this morning. Got up at 12 and started disassembling my house, which we've now pretty much completed. So let's go have a look at that. Today's video that's actually going to get posted to YouTube will be one I shot about 2 weeks ago, detailing the designs for version 2 of my house. But we'll post this one tomorrow. This is day 1 process, which is obviously disassembling version 1 first. So let's have a look. We've got a whole bunch of our subframing there with all the nails and screws and things ripped out of it. It's the remains of our desk. The doors and windows, still haven't taken the lintel off that one. I'll have to get that done in a bit before we pack up for the day. I have a real job now, so I've got to get to work and do that till sort of 3-4 in the morning, and then yeah, get up again and do this. So it's quite sort of hard fitting things in, but we'll get there. Sleepers for the week. There's our old site. As you can see, our tiles that we were sitting on, so forth, and nice dry ground where the house covered us from the rain. We had some pretty bad weather the last couple of days. You can actually sort of see the rain line there and all the growth that we get out of the wet. So a storage box with a bunch of tools and that and stuff. So over here is our floor frame, which was always the interesting one, unsealed on the bottom and so forth. So yeah, we'll have a look in a minute and I'll show you how that went. This is where the doors were, door and window set. As you can see, this is where we got some water damage. It's basically just some water absorption, but not really that major, no rot as yet. So I'll dress and clean this, and then I'm going to reuse this. This is the only component of the original design that is being used unmodified, just my floor and my frame. Everything else is a complete rebuild on top, which is why we've stripped out all our ply and stuff over there, ready to reuse and cut up to different shapes and do things with. So yeah, we've got a little bit of where water leaked in and stuff, and we learned a lot about this. This is, you know, don't leave lips and edges for water to pull on, because it will find a bloody way in no matter how much you seal things up. Use eaves on your roof, or at least some sort of tarp temporary eave for when it, or a shade sail for when it rains, you know, so that water isn't dripping down the side of your house trying to find ways in all the time. It's evil stuff, the old water. Swear to God, you could coat your house in plastic and it'll still find a fucking way in. Anyway, let's lift this over. As you can see, at the edges particularly, where we have water pooling on the tiles that the house was sitting on, there is some water absorption in the timber, but nothing really major and critical. I'm not particularly worried about this. This looks like stuff that could pretty easily dry out in the sun. What's really interesting to see, however, is apart from a bit of mud splatter, and we've got a little mould. I don't know if you can see that, a little bit of mould just starting to grow on some elements of our floor frame here and stuff. But I'm not seeing any major greening or anything like that, which I'm really quite surprised at. You know, like all my structural timber's still got its, you know, original pink coat on it and stuff. It's quite stoked about that. So one of the things we'll be doing tomorrow, in between dressing bits of wood and taking paint off and scraping off old bits of glue and starting to do our rebuild, is we'll go through and sand all of this and mess about with it a bit and probably give it a coat of exterior paint just to waterproof it a little more effectively. But I'm actually pretty happy with how it is. And our new site that we're moving to, same property but a different site up the front where I've got a bit of sun and it's more easy to move things around and just bring a trailer straight in the gate and put this on the trailer and get it out of here when we eventually have to. But I'm going to be on concrete, and I'm going to make my piles that I sit on out of tiles again, but I'm going to make them quite a bit higher. So I'm really not concerned. I mean, this was sitting in the mud a lot, and look at that, after 3 months, you know, like, and some pretty crappy weather. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Over here, this is why we don't use MDF for construction. So if you're ever going to do something like this, I am actually going to reuse these, because I've already got them and I don't believe really in throwing things out. I'm going to have to do quite a bit of repair work on them and stuff. You can see everywhere where water's gotten in through screw joints, in that case in particular. Chipboard MDF type stuff, it is a bloody sponge. So yeah, we got a lot of points where I was doing disassembly. I'll see if I can have a look down here. Where is it? Here's the obvious one. Yeah, there you go. Where the screw's just ripped out, and it's just mush now. It's actually dried, but at some point it got wet, and that's just destroyed its structural integrity. So, which is actually fine for what I'm using these for in the new build. It's a non-structural thing. In the old build they were structural to a degree. In the new build, they're just shelves, and they're very low section against the floor and wall, and that they're not, you know, holding really, like the wall panel will be screwed into them and stuff, but basically, yeah, zero structural strength required. I could quite literally build them out of polystyrene or cardboard or anything like that, and it wouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to go through and ensure that everything's dry, cut out any major rot or gross stuff, seal it all up, bog it, sand it, make them look a bit prettier again, and then reuse them. Just because I've got them, and it's just, you know, what I'm going to do with them otherwise. So I cut them up, throw them out. You should never burn this kind of stuff. It's heavily treated wood, utterly full of formaldehyde and stuff like that. So this is just going to, you know, rot out and poison the environment, or vent to atmosphere if burned. You know, I really do want to reuse it if at all possible. And I've had a good look at things today, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm comfortable doing that, because as long as we don't have any major mold growth going on or anything, I'll give everything a good bleach spray and dry it out and do things like that just to ensure that it isn't. But yeah, we can see there's a lot of damage here. You know, the laminate started peeling away because this got wet, and a lot of this was leaks I didn't even know I had. This was inside the wall. So yes, stuff had leaked in through the screws, and unfortunately when I built this house, I wasn't able to properly seal up all of my screws and things on the edges, because it was always designed with the idea of use it for a few months, test it, play around, experiment, get a few different ideas together and stuff, and then rip it apart. And it was also built down the back of this yard and far too heavy and big to move in one piece, so it was always going to get disassembled to be moved at some point. This is sort of just a temporary site while my friends are kind enough to let me use the back of their rental property. So yeah, we didn't seal things up in the new version, which is half the size and hopefully less than half the weight, and going to be up the front of this house near the front gate, where we can easily get it onto a trailer and stuff. Even if I do have to get a couple of big lads to help me lift it, I am going to be sealing everything up completely. It's actually possible at some point longer term that I might actually coat the exterior in fiberglass or some sort of fabric with paint through it or whatever, to give it an actual fully sealed total blanket wrap of waterproofing, somewhat like a jacket for your house, if you will. New version, as I've said in the video that you will have seen before this if you're following along, has also got insulation, a whole bunch of other advantages to it, but we covered all that in the design. So yeah, there's our old roof frame. It's partially disassembled. There's a few screws I need to still take out the edges there and stuff like that. This will be fully disassembled and taken apart. I'm still going to use the roof panel itself, but the new design, because it's lower and less stress on the structure overall and stuff, really needs very minimal framing. I probably won't have these crossbars in it. I'm probably going to leave some of the edge framing in, but the new design basically, half of this length, well over half of this length, gets screwed into the top side of one of these bookcases actually, or glued in at least. So yeah, it's just the way it all stresses together is quite different from the old one. All the strain is carried in the walls. There's no mezzanine. Now that I'm looking at all of the blowout and rot in this and stuff, I realised that the way I built was quite fortunate. Once these bookcases had been placed on the floor and screwed in place, they were then supported with some additional framing, and all of it was bolted to the wall frames at both ends and along the side, which is lucky, because while I was sleeping on this thing, I mean, this stuff's just sawdust glued together, and as soon as you get some water in it, it's powdery bullshit. So, you know, I have actually been sleeping on the lower section on the floor on my new mattress for the last few weeks, but yeah, long-term use, that could have actually collapsed on me, potentially, or more likely massively overloaded my walls and caused them to bow a lot and things like that. It was interesting taking things apart today, actually, just sort of going through that process of reversing the structure. You take an end wall off and nothing happens, take the other end wall off, things start to wobble a bit, take a couple of wall panels out from the long walls and then things wobble a lot. By the time we got it down to just these bookcases and the runners that came off of here and supported the mezzanine, she's wobbling all over the place, you know, like it's just, you know. So yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a piece of shit material, basically. I guess is the point there. So I will continue to use these, but I would not advise doing so if you're going to build something like this. I think the idea of using furniture as a structural wall brace is really cool. You know, it's a bit lighter and it's just kind of cool and clever. But I would highly recommend that you use anything but MDF or chipboard. So thicker ply, recycled timber, existing furniture made out of whatever it is, as long as it isn't this shit. They are cheap. Kit sets like this cost you, you know, like went there before I modified these, they were 1800 high, 1800 millimeters high by 600 wide, as you can see, with a number of shelves in them and stuff like that. They're almost too heavy to carry in the flat pack for me, although I'm a wee dude, so they probably weigh, you know, sort of 45-50 kilo or so. Yeah, so it's a bit of an effort. I certainly can't carry two of them at once. And yeah, I think they cost me $50 on special, but they would have been $70, so $140. for a bunch of stuff that I modified the shit out of. And I look at it now and I'm like, well, if I didn't have these existing and I was doing this from scratch, I'd just build shells or go buy some made out of better materials, because $140 is plenty of money to get something better than this, and they're not that light, so there's really no advantage in using them, apart from the fact that they're all pre-cut and you just screw them together and it takes you 10 minutes, you know, like that's kind of an advantage. But given the fact that I guarantee you, no matter how well you build, your house will find ways to let water wick in, and then you've got internal dampness and various other things over long term, so this stuff is just not a valid material. If you are going to use it, assemble them and utterly paint the snot out of them repeatedly until they're just massively waterproof and may as well be made of plastic, and you might get away with it. But yeah, or just don't use them structurally. That's the point. I mean, obviously it's MDF furniture, everyone buys this stuff for their house, and it's totally fine as furniture, but if you're going to use it structurally like I did, then use something a bit more robust. And you know, if you've got screws coming in from outside into stuff like this, and those screws aren't sealed on the outside, or they even fail minorly, water wicks in along the screw line and all of this starts happening, so just not great. Otherwise our ply survived quite well. I did find using Phillips head screwdrivers, you know, obviously getting them in and out is a bit of a fiddle. Use your builder style posi drive ones, they're the ones with a weird square shaped hole in the top of them. That's a good plan. It's a piece of advice a friend gave me that I ignored, and it hasn't, you know, been a huge deal, but there's a few sections of framing over there where I had to just tear off a piece of ply or pull a piece of spar out and then just hack off a screw that's jammed in place because I cannot get it out. Driving screws into big chunks of wood on angles, especially where they may or may not get some water or dampness going on, also a bad idea, because when you go to pull them out, even if they are a posi drive, you're going to find that it just strips around in the hole and you have to cut it out or drill it out or do something crazy like that. So yeah, these are the bits of advice I've found so far. All in all though, the structure for, you know, I'm just some random artist with a bit of build skill, and not that much of it to be honest. I'm pretty shit. It's gone well. 3.5 months worth of some pretty heavy weather and stuff, and only some minor leaks and whatnot. Certainly vastly better than living outside or on the street like I had been at some point in my existence. And once again, thanks very, very much to my patron who prefers to remain anonymous, or patrons. And all of the friends who've helped me so far, and follow along. Tomorrow we'll be dressing some things and taking that floor frame and beginning to reassemble structure on it and whatnot. We'll just hope like hell the weather holds. It has actually fined up. We did have a big storm yesterday, so I was a bit worried about doing stuff today, but it was grey this morning and now it's fined up a bit. Nice sort of semi-autumn day there. So I'm going to do my final few tasks for the day, and then move all this stuff up the front and get it under a tarpaulin in case it rains tonight, and then go prep up for work, because I'm going to go to a bar and do my serve drinks to people thing. Awesome job, love that one. Alright, you guys have a good one. Tomorrow hopefully we'll have some progress for you to have a look at. Bye.